Okay, so now the session is being recorded. All right, yeah, all right. Okay, so we have this question here. And again, it's very similar to the one before it with the dinner and tip, except now it's buying a TV and the tax. Okay, all right. So what I'm not saying you would have to do something like this on an exam. I just like to do, I'm doing this just to illustrate what's going on. Because sometimes from using specific numbers and examples, you can see what method you can use to solve the problem. It's kind of like doing experiments in math, you know, using specific numbers. All right, so, well, could the TV cost $200? Well, if it was $200, then what we're saying is $200 plus the tax would have to be this, $310.05. That's if the TV was $200. Okay. Now, what is the tax though? It's 7.8%. Okay. So $200 plus 7.8%, again, that's 0.078 times $200. You know, if you take a percent of something, it's if you follow the calculation like we did before, you end up with something like this, a product. So this is what we have, and this should equal $310.05. But what is this actually equal to? Well, if you do the calculation, you know, I use the calculator. I can't do this in my head. We get $15.06. So this is saying then, if it was $200, this would have to be true. Left-hand side is equal to this, though. And this is false. So it can't be $200. You know, that's not expensive enough. Okay, so let's try $300. I don't know why it says dinner there. That should be TV. Let me fix that. Could the TV. Good. Sorry about that. Well, if it was $300, then what would happen is, wait a minute, yeah, we would have $300, right? That's the cost of the TV. And if you add on the tax, you would have to get $310.05. That's what we would have to get. Okay, and again, this is before tax, right? That's what we're trying to figure out. Okay, but what is the tax? It's 7.8% of 300, which is this calculation. So we have 300 plus 0.078 times 300, as you can see. And that sum would have to be $310.05. And it turns out if you do this calculation, you get this, 23.40. And you can see that the sum is 323.4, 0.40, same thing. But this is not true. But this is still illustrating how we could find the cost of the TV. So I'm going to call that capital T. So if T were the cost of the TV, then T plus the tax would have to equal to this. So T plus the tax would have to equal to this. That's cool, that's cool. But how do you get the tax? That's 7.8% of the TV, of the cost of it. And as we saw before, you know, by similar calculations in other examples, 7.8% of something is 0.078 times that something. Essentially, you're converting the percent to a decimal and multiplying. And just like before, what do? There is a 1 here, even though we didn't write it, but as a convention, if there's a 1 next to it, we don't write it. If you take t out, factor it out, you get t times 1 plus this. And of course, this sum is equal to 1.078 times t. So this would have to be true. Okay, so what would t have to be? Well, just like before, t times 1.078 would have to equal to this thing. And we want to know what t would have to be. So we divide. Dividing this cancels, right? We divide by 1.078. We want t all alone. So t would have to be this quotient, which turns out to be about this when you round the 2 decimal places. So that's the cost of the TV before tax. So that's what we get here. All right. What questions do you have about this? All right. I mean, the next topic, I'm definitely not going to finish it today, but it's about absolute change and relative change. If you have a certain quantity that's changing value, the absolute change of it is the ending value minus the starting value. The ending value minus the starting value. That's just what absolute change is by definition. And then you can come up, and then you can consider what's called the relative change. This is the absolute change divided by the starting value. The absolute change divided by the starting value. And now, if you want to make this into a percent, though, you have to multiply by 100. So essentially, relative change is percent change before you convert it to a percent. Now we're out of time, so I got to stop. So this slide will continue from next time. So let me stop the recording.